What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA Show with myself, Huzaifa, and Justin, the Guitar Hero James. Justin, welcome back. Welcome, everybody. We've been having so much fun. A lot of people joined on Friday. A lot of people watched that episode. And we're growing. We're at 226 subscribers. We're going to keep that count on the upward trajectory. And we are, like I said, so grateful to everybody who has joined along on this journey because it's a lot of fun. I think we hopefully offer some interesting commentary. Obviously, we have Justin's amazing perspective from as a fighter, which I think is missing in a lot of other channels. And hey, I love the sport. So hopefully that adds an element there too. So anyways, we had a lot of crazy stuff that went down this week in the world of mixed martial arts, but also in the world of combat sports in general, because if you guys were paying attention to anything, there was a massive boxing match on Saturday. This was Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. Now, Justin, you were just telling me right before we started your feelings on boxing, but you did watch the whole fight. So I want to turn it over to you. Wow. If you guys, by the way, just to quickly set it up, if you guys didn't see the buildup, it was insane because Ryan Garcia, a lot of people thought he was kind of going a little crazy. I kind of thought it was amazing, everything he did. I kind of respected what he was saying, what was in his heart. He was just going all out, being wild, missed weight by 3 pounds, which is a lot at 140. And he was partying.
$1.5 million too.
Had to pay $1.5 million. I think his whole purse was like 20 million or something. So he's like, whatever, it seems like. Okay, Justin, give us your first impressions of the fight.
Dude, I tuned in mostly because of the banter, because of the shit talk. People are saying Ryan Garcia has lost his mind. So, you know, I watched some of his interviews. I watched some of his pre-fight stuff. But this guy, man, crazy or not, this guy's a gangster, man. He went in there, you know, I thought he won the first round, and then he lost like 6 rounds in a row. And then he just started turning it on, man. And, you know, during those rounds, like a lot of the announcers were kind of counting him out. Like, oh, he's just not looking the same. He's a one-dimensional, you know, fighter. He just has that nasty left hook. But when you're that good at a technique and you can find range, man, he slapped the opposition in the first round, rocked him. And I'm just not a fan of boxing, man. I think it's boring. Like all the clinch work, there's so much dirty boxing that could be done there. And I mean, it's cool when they're dropping each other. I like watching heavyweights box. But as for the little guys, man, they're throwing 2 punches, 3 punches, clinch. 2 punches, 3 punches, clinch. You know, I think the clinch and the referee kept warning them. They're holding on to each other. I'm just not a boxing fan, man. And earlier on the card, too, there was a controversial fight, you know, where everyone thought this one guy won and then the other guy lost, or the other guy won. And it's just like, it's just crooked, man. And I'm not really a boxing fan. I respect it, and I respect the athletes, because to be good at that craft and how much time you got to put in, whether it's MMA or boxing, you still got to put the time in. You still got to work your ass off and train. So I respect boxers. I just don't really care to watch it.
Yeah, and I can agree with some of those sentiments too. But I'll say this, you know, that's the thing about mixed martial arts, whether or not people want to talk smack about the grappling or maybe don't find it as interesting as the striking, but the fact that it is allowed and it's a strategic element, it makes the mixed martial arts fights, when they are on their feet, when they are striking, so much more competitive and interesting, because there's no like loopholes. There's no ways to take a break. You know, now Devin Haney, we're going to pull up some of the footage here from the Mighty Mouse channel. Devin Haney, I mean, okay, here's the thing. Like you said, we have to respect the boxers. We have to respect the fighters. They get in there, they train, they put their life on the line. They do so much more than anything I've ever done in terms of in that realm. So I can't speak too harshly, but if we watch some of these fights, I'm just going to mute this. If we watch some of this fight, right, what you're seeing is people were almost joking, right? As Devin Haney was getting knocked down. Look, he's almost like he's shooting double legs. He's like shooting double leg takedowns, which is just ridiculous. And obviously, like it showed it right there. You see the grappling and the clinching. So it's like these are not techniques that are allowed, but they're used as a distraction or as a break or a pause when you know you're about to get knocked down. You're trying to regain your composure, and that's just not fun as a fan because it feels like you're cheating, right? Even there were some instances where Ryan Garcia was turning away. He was just like turning his back. It's like you can't do that in a real fight or a mixed martial arts fight. Like, it's crazy. So I think that is agitating for a lot of people. But I think the most egregious mistakes or probably the egregious reffing was in the direction of Ryan Garcia. There were so many times when the referee was not properly splitting them up when Devin Haney was just holding on for dear life. And then there was one point where Garcia could have come in and finished the fight easily. But the ref, I don't understand. He pushed him away. I don't know why he was doing that. Some people were almost saying like he must be pro Devin Haney. It was very bizarre. So clearly, I think most people will thank God Ryan Garcia won, first of all, because if he would have not won, that would have by decision, that would have been massive uproar. But I think he could have finished him. He should have finished Devin Haney if it were not for the referee. But I'll say this, man. It was, as much as I agree with you that I'm not a big boxing fan, it was a fun fight. It was really fun, especially when you see such a massive underdog. I mean, he was a huge underdog, minus 700, or sorry, plus 500 or 450 or something.
After he rocked Devin Haney in the first round, like, clearly he wins the first round. You rock him. I mean, it was clear as day he won. The odds were still, he still was a plus 500 dog, man. I couldn't believe it. I'm looking at the odds as this is going. It's like, dude, Ryan won the first round. How is he still a 5-1 dog? But again, I don't really understand boxing to the extent I do MMA. I don't really understand the game plan. I've heard people talk about, oh, they take it easy in the first couple rounds and ramp it up towards the end. Maybe that's what Garcia was doing. I mean, he lost like 5 rounds, 6 rounds in a row, in my opinion. And in the announcer's opinion. So maybe this strategy that I just don't understand.
But I think, if my understanding, by the way, we have a couple people popping in. Teron Brown rejoining us again. What's up? And Celine, thank you again for your continued support. So just, again, as he was, I just lost my train of thought. You were saying that he was holding back. But sorry. He did lose several rounds in a row, but I believe in boxing, and again, I don't know the scoring either as well as, most boxing aficionados, but I believe that they award a point for every knockdown or take away a point for every knockdown. Yes, they take a point
away. So if I knock you down, it's going to be a 10-8 round.
Yeah, and I think there was one round where Garcia should have had like 3 knockdowns, but they only gave him 2 knockdowns. Stuff like that kept happening where that would have been 10-7. Oh yeah. But anyways, it was just a lot of stuff like that was very against Ryan Garcia. Now, some people, obviously the conspiracy theorists say, hey, that's because he was partying, he wasn't trying, and for him to win, it's a bad look for boxing in general. I don't know if that's true or not, but it definitely seems like something weird was going on with the ref and Garcia. He was clearly favoring Devin Haney. And then the one time Garcia throws a punch in the clinch, right? An illegal punch, boom, immediately.
Took a point away. Didn't even give him a warning.
No warning, just took a point away. I mean, like that's just messed up. Even if he was authentically like not trying to give Devin Haney an edge, like that should be looked at. That's ridiculous. How are you going to do that? And then you give Devin Haney a million chances, let him up, let him hang. I don't know. The whole thing was weird, but Garcia pulled it off. What a star. And then he comes back after the presser and it's just like, yeah, man, I drank and smoked every night at camp. What's up? What do you got to say now? What? I mean, like, not saying that that's the best thing for people to see and young people to see and emulate, but I don't know, man. I believe him, number one, and number two. I mean, what do you say to that? It's kind of, it's like crazy, man. And Justin, what is your take on something like that? Like other people have been talking about him, comparing him to John Jones, when you have this extraordinary level of phenom physical talent, coupled with, I mean, he's put in the work, but obviously his talent level or his ability level is so high. I mean, I can't even imagine drinking every night and training for a fight and then putting on a performance like that. What is your take on athletes? Like, how often do athletes come along and do something like this?
I mean, dude, it's a bumpy road and it always ends the same way. They have success early on. Yeah, there's this guy I went to college with, man, and and I don't want to call him out, but I'm not going to say his name, but dude, he was a fucking high school stud. Dude, this guy partied his face off harder than anybody. He'd drink before matches, throw up, and go and just beat the fuck out of some guys in the world, And, I went to a Christian college. We were rivals in high school. We weren't the same weight class, but I knew who he was. He knew who I was. And then we went to college together, and I developed a friendship with him. And his senior year, and he goes to the national tournament his junior year, drinking, partying his face off. Then his senior year, my coach, again, going to a Christian college, really got on him like, hey, man, why don't we got 1 year left. Let's straighten out. Let's not party. Let's not drink. He did. And he didn't even make it out of the region. So some guys, yeah, exactly. He never performed again. So some guys, I mean, it's a theory of mine that, when they're out partying, drinking, like, I don't know, dude. It's like, it's maybe it gives them this false confidence, maybe because they're so hungover and they're mad and they want to get after people. I don't know. But I tell you what, when my buddy stopped drinking, his wrestling plummeted.
That's okay. So what's crazy is that John Jones has said in the past for some of his fights, I think the Gustafsson fight, either the first or the second one, he was drinking all fight week and just getting wasted. And he said in his mind, it allowed him to say that, all right, well, if I lose, then it's because of this. And maybe that gave him some mental clarity or some mental calmness. But there could be that. Wow. Okay. That's crazy. So perhaps for
And then again, I'll talk about myself too. Like I fought Jesse Gross, the Ghost Gross from Canada, from Ontario, Canada. We're talking about a freaking stud. I fought him 3 times, twice as an amateur, once as a pro. First time I fought him was a short notice fight. I go out there, I gas out, I get TKO'd in the second round. The second time I fight him, I was like, fuck it, dude, he's a tough fighter. I'm probably gonna get my ass beat again. I go out, I party my ass off, hook up with some chicks the night before, wake up hungover, drink a couple Gatorades, some Pedialyte. I go in there and I put a clinic on this guy for 3 rounds, and at the end of the third round, I end up subbing him. And then, so we're 1 for 1. Then I turn pro. I go to Bellator. I have a first-round knockout in Bellator. I'm in shape. I'm feeling great. I got all this momentum going. I'm not drinking. I'm not partying. I go and fight him a third time, and I lose a split decision. So I don't know, man. I think there might be something to it. Maybe it's that confidence, like, hey, I'm supposed to lose because I'm out partying, and, that's my excuse. But, dude, twice I fought him sober, and I lost. And the one time I fought him, fucked up, I won. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to it.
The only way, I can relate to that is I used to play a lot of tennis, and I used to do this, this tennis, group cardio class every Saturday back in the day when, I don't drink anymore. Right. But I would always play my best hungover. And so maybe there is something to that where your nerves are a little calmed. You're a little bit more, or maybe less in your head. That's wild. This whole thing is wild. So I guess we'll see what happens with Ryan Garcia. I know some people are saying, he's on top of the world right now. Unbelievable. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan, and I'm not even a boxing fan, but I'm just a fan of how this whole thing went out, how so many people were counting him out, talking badly about him, saying he's crazy, and he just went in there and held his composure together, dominated, is unapologetic. I don't know. There's something about that is exciting. And
what has Devin Haney said since the fight?
I know
Sorry, guys. Also, I gotta eat. I didn't be back at the gym for a training session in an hour. So I gotta eat. Sorry, guys.
Do your thing. We gotta feel the fighter. This is what we need to get your insights. So go ahead, eat up. But here's the thing. He said immediately after that he wanted a rematch. He was pretty respectful in the fight. He's like, hey, sometimes we lose. I gave him a shot. I hope he gives me a shot back. I think that's the right thing to do. And we want it again. And that's it. So I guess they're gonna have a rematch. I don't know if it'll be a turnaround immediate rematch. He got rocked. He got rocked 4 or 5 times, I think. And I can't even imagine, right? The MMA fight, one time you're kind of saved. He must have had a bad concussion after that fight, multiple concussions. So that's what he's saying. I guess we'll see. I think his father had some statements, but I didn't check them out. Anyways, unbelievable fight. And hey, Celine says, bon appetit, Justin. Merci beaucoup. Je parle un peu de français. Okay, Celine? So there you go. Thank you very much.
Hey.
All right. So let's move it along because we got a lot to talk about, but unbelievable. Massive props to Ryan Garcia. We want to see you back in the, you're one boxer that I'm going to watch, even though I'm a big time MMA fan. All right, here we go. Now we come to finally the first public statement from Justin Gaethje. And we're going to, hold on one second. We are going to show this statement. We're going to read it together. It's pretty crazy, but it also not really surprising coming from Justin Gaethje because, the guy that we all know and love, he would say something like this after the fight. So check this out. Crazy game, Justin Gaethje told MMA Knockout. A lot of people in my position would have sat out, not taken that fight, and waited for that title fight. But I have no regrets. I had so much fun. Wow, amazing. I think it was such a huge historic card for the UFC, and to be part of that and to be the best fight on the card is going to live on forever. Again, it was a huge risk. I failed. If I would have won that fight, if I would have got a quick knockout, I would have taken that title fight. I would have that fight, but it's just the name of the game. Dude, I don't even know what to say to that. How you can have that poise. And I think that's a sincere statement. You know what I mean? It's not just, hey, I'm going to put something out there positive for the people. I bet you he really feels like that. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless. Justin, what are your thoughts when you hear, I know he's your favorite fighter, when you hear him say something like that?
Dude, I tell you what, man, that's why he's one of the greatest of all time. Because here's the thing, man. High risk, high reward. All right. He didn't need to do that, but he wanted to be on that 300 card. He wanted to go against Max Holloway. He wants to test his durability against guys like that. Dude, I can relate to that so personally because if you remember my last fight in the UFC, I bet $25,000 on myself. My contract was on the line. Everything was on the line. High risk, high reward. Being in that pressure cooker I thrived there. Even though I lost a split decision, he got knocked out. Excuse me. Dude, that's where we want to be. And that's what separates guys. I'm not saying that, I'm a world beater. I never was a world champion like him. But, dude, I'll risk everything for greatness, man. And I risked my UFC career. I risked all my money. Justin, same thing. He risked his UFC title shot. He risked, he just knocked out Pereira with that nasty head kick. He risked all his momentum. Dare to be beautiful, man. Dare to be great. And guys and that's why you can't not love the guy. How can he not be your favorite fighter? Hamzat, let's talk about your favorite fighter compared to my favorite fighter. Hamzat, this great. He was offered the title fight. He turned it down.
Wait a
turned
minute.
it down. Yeah, he was
That's
offered
confirmed?
the 300 main event against Leon Edwards.
No. But my understanding is he turned it down not because of because he couldn't do it, it's because of visa issues. I think.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that
Yeah.
okay. If that would change it. But again, Hamzat's been sitting on the shelf for a long time, dude. The guy fights once a year, twice a year. I know he had that little stint where he fought a couple times, but he's taking his time trying to get to fame. Justin Gaethje doesn't give a fuck, and that's why I don't care if he wins every fight. I don't care if he loses every fight. He shows up. He's in shape. He tries to knock every single motherfucker out. He didn't try to wrestle Max Holloway. Max Holloway is a much more precise boxer. The reason I chose Gaethje is because of his power, because of his speed, because he's unorthodox. Fighting a guy that throws straight punches down the pipe, it's not always, but sometimes it's easier fighting this crazy mayhem guy because you don't know if this is coming, you don't know if this is coming, you know what I mean? Like, it's unorthodox. You don't know if he's in southpaw, that leg kick's coming. Max Holloway just outclassed him, unfortunately. But again, dare to be great, dare to be beautiful. Anybody that can, and I believe what he's saying is authentic, dude. This is why he's my favorite fighter. I don't care about wins and losses. I know the UFC does. I don't. I am a fan of mindset. And Justin Gaethje is the perfect fighter, and that's the reason he's my favorite fighter, because the guy is you can't break the fucking guy. You can't break him. And I'll be honest, I've been broken, bro. I've been broken in fights. I've been broken in training camps. And to look up to someone like Justin Gaethje that can't be broken, I'm sure he's been broken in training. I'm sure he's probably been broken in fights, but he puts that poker face on and he slings big shots. And dude, for any MMA fighter that's on the up and up right now, all these amateurs, you look at someone like Justin Gaethje who goes out there on his fucking shield every time. He risked his life every time. The guy was a Division I college wrestler. He doesn't wrestle. He has a leg kick and he has a high kick as well now too. But dude, man, it goes back to that quote by Theodore Roosevelt. Man in the arena. Have you ever heard of it? Dude, look up that shit. Look it up right now, man, because and I want you to post it right next to us. Man in the arena. Just put man in the arena. Theodore Roosevelt.
All right, looking it up now.
This is something I live by. I have this picture next to my bed, so when I wake up, dare to be fucking great. Dare to rise above. Because when you fucking are chilling and you take the safe, easy fights, Justin Gaethje never takes an easy fight. And put that right next to our head so everyone watching can read this or read it out loud, dude. Read it out loud.
Hold on, make sure I got the right thing up here. 1 second. I Googled it, but it seems like a long paragraph. This thing, man in the arena, this thing?
Read it. Let me tell you. I'll tell you. It's too long.
It's just huge.
Put man in the arena and just put images. Click images.
Got it. All right, here we go. This one?
The one on the left. The black one.
Oh,
yep,
shit.
left.
Oh, hold on. Oh, let me go back. Hold on. I got you.
That one.
Sorry, guys. We're doing this as quick as I can. Here we go. Okay, let me read this. I never read this before. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Pause. I think this is pause. There is no effort without error and shortcomings, not who does actually strive to do the deeds. Who knows greatness? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Damn, I never read this.
Dude, bro, when you're reading it out loud, I'm fucking sweating and I'm getting goosebumps because I want to fucking cry because these fucking MMA fans are so shitty and they're so fucking terrible and they want to jump and judge me for losing fights or judge Justin Gaethje for getting knocked out. Fuck you guys, because the man in the arena is only matters. That guy, he threw, I'm not going to say he threw everything away because he didn't throw everything away, but he went out on a limb for no reason at all, risked his UFC title, risked his BMF title for no reason, just to entertain us. How can that not be your favorite fighter? He had nothing, barely, like his gain was this much, and now he lost his title. He lost his BMF title. He lost his title shot, and he has to win 2 or 3 more fights to get that back just to entertain us. How can Justin Gaethje not be everyone's favorite fighter of all time?
I want to talk about that real quick because I think it was such an amazing performance, and I think the fans love him so much. We want to see him get that belt. I mean, he had the interim, but we want to see him get that belt once before he takes a bow and retires. What do you think? If he gets one good fight next, let's say he fights Charles Oliveira, something like that, and he wins, back in title contention, we'll just see. I think it'd just be one win, and he's back in there because he's so popular.
Yeah,
And
one win. And regardless of his popularity, the reason he's back in one win is because of UFC 300, what he did. Dana White has to recognize this. This is not, he didn't step up short notice to fill a gap. He just made the whole 300 card. Hey, Jamahal Hill's my guy, fought in the main event. Dude, I was falling asleep during the co-main and the main, not because they were bad fights. They were great fights. But I was so emotionally invested in the Justin Gaethje Max Holloway fight. I was like, dude, I'm tired. Like, I was emotionally and physically invested. I was sweating. Me and my dad are going back and forth cheering. And dude, that could be arguably one of the best fights of all time. Justin Gaethje gets one win. He needs a title shot. Dana White owes him that. Dana White, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard owes Justin Gaethje the title shot for one more win.
Amazing. I think it's going to happen. We just got to he's got to get the right matchup. And imagine him after this is how it could play out, just theoretically. Islam and Dustin fight. Let's just say it goes to Islam because he's favored. Not saying we're counting Dustin out, but let's say it goes to Islam. Islam's going to tee it up with Sarukian probably in September or October. You put Justin on that fight as a co-main or on the undercard, or, somewhere on the main card, and then he wins, Islam wins, boom, we bang it out one last time. Let him go for it. I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see it. So major props to Justin Gaethje, and we got to move on because huge news has been announced. Jamahal Hill is teeing up to fight Khalil Roundtree in 2 months. Okay. And I don't know if you listened to Jamahal on his podcast. He talked about the fact that he basically came out with essentially no damage. That's what he's saying anyways, right? He had a quick knockout, but he was all there. He was with it, came right back, didn't have any injuries. And so he's going to fight Khalil Roundtree in just under 2 months. So Justin, obviously, Jamahal. I think most people would easily favor Jamahal Hill against Khalil Roundtree in this matchup if it were not for the recent knockout plus the Achilles injury. Where do you stand on this matchup? What do you see?
Man, dude, we're talking about Khalil Roundtree is a savage. I don't like it. I think Jamahal, I wish he would have took a little bit more time. But on the opposite end, you got to strike while the iron's hot. Jamahal takes 6 months off. People are going to stop talking about him. He becomes irrelevant. So again, another guy, man in the arena, gets knocked out in the first round. He's trying to get back, right away. Excuse me, I keep burping. I'm eating my spaghetti.
No worries.
He wants to get back. He needs to stay relevant. If he takes 6 months off, the whole title contention ship per se is all going to change because guys are going to fight, win and lose, and guys are going to get momentum and guys are going to lose momentum. So the whole tree will be fucked up, for the rankings and shit. Jamal's still in the top 3 guys. He goes out and beats Khalil Roundtree. All right, well, he just made a statement that he deserves another title shot. High risk, high reward, man. I respect what he's doing, and I'm not going to say I agree with it or disagree. I see why he's doing it. And, and it wasn't like he was battered and bruised. When he says he came out uninjured, he doesn't have any broken bones. He doesn't have any lacerations. Yep. He got caught on the chin. He wasn't flatlined. He got dropped. I mean, that shit happens, bro. So if Jamahal feels good, I'm sure he's going to adjust his training accordingly for the first couple weeks because it is 2 months. He has plenty of time. Fuck, he might take, 3-4 weeks off hard sparring. And then because he's already in shape, he was already ready to go 5 rounds. This is going to be a main event. It's going to be 5 rounds. This is going to be for title contention. Now you look at Roundtree on their side. This guy is a fucking savage, bro. He has a physique like a bodybuilder. I know that he was going to Thailand and working his kickboxing, and his leg kicks are nasty. I mean, they might be some of the best in that division right now. I don't like the matchup for Jamahal coming off a loss because Khalil has all this momentum. His kickboxing is awesome. With that being said, again, I reiterate, this is a high-risk fight for Jamahal because Khalil is tough. He has the momentum. but it's high reward, man. He gets right back into title contention with 1 win.
Now, I don't know. Actually, I'm just so good. I'm just double checking. It's actually on the Conor McGregor card on 303 in June 29th. I don't know. It doesn't say if it's 5 rounds. So let's say it's either 3 rounds or 5 rounds. But let me just tell you this from my perspective, just from the mental side. Again, I don't know the fight side per se in this round, but I love it from a mental standpoint where he's just like, boom, I know I did better than people are giving me credit for. I'm still ready to go. I'm going to get right back in the mix. Also, from the standpoint of not being forgotten, right? Fine, he had that loss, but he can erase it immediately with an incredible victory. Plus, this is going to be a banger of a fight. I mean, Khalil Roundtree, most people like me are fans of the Muay Thai, fans of the striking, and we're going to see a full-on striking match. I think Jamahal Hill is the more seasoned fighter. I think he's got the edge here. And I mean, I think it's exciting, and I think it's going to win over a lot of fans if and when Jamahal gets this victory over Khalil Roundtree. So I'm very excited, and yeah, we'll see what happens. This Conor card is turned out to be amazing. All right, last thing we're going to talk about today. I don't know if you know this. Did you know that Alex Pereira came in to the fight with a broken toe, and he broke a second toe on one of his kicks against Jamahal Hill?
I did not know that.
This is crazy.
Dude, this guy's a fucking dog, man. But you know, you look at all his kickboxing experience, you know, and I mean, I'm sure he's done. With how tough this guy is, mentally tough. I'm sure this isn't the first time this has happened. You know, it's this. I mean, this guy is an animal. He is a world class. He might be the best kickboxer in the history of the UFC. You know, I'm not going to say best fighter, but definitely the best kickboxer. And you know, that's no surprise to me. That doesn't blow my mind by any means, because this guy is the 185-pound champion. This guy is the 205-pound champion. He's beaten 6 former UFC champions. This guy, 5 or 6, I can't remember the exact number, but he's beaten 5 or 6 former UFC champions, man. Like, this guy, dude, he could break his arm. I mean, Jamahal Hill broke his arm when he fought, and he still tried to continue. Remember Rich Franklin against Chuck Liddell? Chuck Liddell throws a kick, he blocks it, breaks his arm, and then he knocks him out with a left hook. And he's in his post fight. He's like, well, my arm's broken, but I just knew I had to land one shot to knock Chuck out. Rich Franklin, Chuck Liddell. Like, crazy. I'm telling you, man, and I'm not bragging about myself. I've broken my hands in fights, and you know it fucking sucks. But what do? You're there. Like, he's still going to kill you. Remember, MMA is essentially it's gladiators with the referee. The referee is the only thing keeping the two fighters from killing each other. You know, like, you break your arm in a street fight, then you're fighting to the death. There's no referee to stop that. MMA fighters have to persevere and continue. I mean, again, reiterate, Alex is a fucking gangster. He's awesome. He's becoming one of my favorite fighters. He's slowly learning English. I can appreciate that. You know, he's putting on fan favorite fights. He's beaten 5 UFC champions. He's won at 2 weight classes, talking about going to a 3rd. How can you not like this guy?
You said he's probably one of the greatest kickboxers of all time, not necessarily one of the greatest fighters. I mean, at what point would you start asking the question, is he one of the greatest fighters? Because I'm looking at his record right now. You mentioned 5 or 6 champions. It's 5, but this is insane. Listen to these last 5 victories. He beat Sean Strickland. I know he wasn't the champion, but he became the champ. He beat Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka, and then Jamahal Hill. I mean, that's 5 in a row of all champs or former champs.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I know what your question is. What is preventing him? All right, Jamahal Hill, kickboxer, MMA kickboxer.
Okay.
Yuri, MMA kickboxer. Fucking what's the other? Adesanya, kickboxer. Yeah. I mean, the UFC, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is they're serving him up, kickboxers. All right, they're serving him up. They want knockouts in his fights. They want either him to get knocked out or him to knock somebody out. Why aren't they putting him against who's that?
Magomed.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Magomed. Dude, this guy, he has great striking, but he's going to use his wrestling. You know, he's going to, Hamzat was at 85 for a second. Why don't they match that matchup? I mean, the reason and I'm not saying he doesn't have potential to be the greatest. He does. But in my humble opinion, he hasn't earned his stripes yet because he hasn't fought that top tier wrestler. John Jones, I don't think John Jones is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. I think George St. Pierre is. But when people argue with me that John Jones is, they make valid points. This guy has fought strikers. He's fought wrestlers. He's been around for a decade. You know, he's still winning fights. You know, he just fought, his last fight when we watched it at your house, like, fought a world-class kickboxer, subs him in the first round. You know, I give John more credit because, again, he's been around for 100 years. He's fought everybody's who's, whether wrestlers, whether strikers, grapplers. And I just don't think Alex has enough on his resume. He's fought incredible champions, but they're champions that suit his style. He hasn't fought, like a Russian wrestler yet.
Fair enough. And I think they are teeing up that Ankalaev fight. A lot of people are saying that he is going to be next. By the way, this is the reason, the broken toes, is why he's probably not going to be at the next UFC event in a few weeks. So he's not going to be medically cleared. I want to show you one other thing. I'm just like fascinated by Poatan right now and his upper ceiling. I want to show you this. I'm sure you probably heard about this, but I want to show you his punching power on this machine that the UFC has now. So right here, this is Aspinall kind of giving it a shot and kind of getting a reasonable score. And Aspinall obviously hits super hard. These are some other guys. Now here's Poatan. Okay, watch this. Okay, hold on. I want to play this one more time. I want to see your thoughts. Like, what do you see when you see him throw a punch? Here, let's watch it one more time. Do you see anything super unique or very special? Because apparently he punches harder than Ngannou.
It's hard for me to believe that, to be honest. Just from size alone, I'm not saying he doesn't hit hard. But I think the UFC is trying to throw shade at Francis Ngannou here. I mean, I've stood next to both guys. Alex is a huge guy. Obviously, he's a lot bigger than me. But Francis is just a different animal. He's 265 pounds. He's fucking 7 feet tall. His arms are as big as my head. I just can't imagine. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'd want to see, for the UFC, he punches harder than Francis Ngannou again. I think that as a brand, as the UFC brand, they want to throw shade at Francis Ngannou anytime they can because he's moved on from the sport. So, but I just can't imagine. Now, I've hit that same, I can't remember when I got to the UFC, I hit the same pad. But here, you look at his technique. He steps with his left foot forward. And a lot of guys, when you watch, like you see these guys hit that punching machine, you see them at carnivals and shit like that. They wind up their hand really low and it's really like a whip. Now look how tight he holds everything to his body. He has his left elbow tight to his rib cage. He steps into the punch. He turns his hip and it looks just like a bang, like a short shot. Look at it. Watch it again. Watch his right elbow. He doesn't go over the head. He doesn't hardly detach from his body. Look at that. It just turns, bang. It's all hip. It's like swinging a baseball bat like he's trying to hit a home run. He's not that big looping shot. It's just right on his hip. Boom.
Right.
His elbow is in front of his hip. All right. The power, which a lot of casual fans don't understand, comes from your base. It comes from your legs. It comes from your hips. That's why guys like bodybuilders don't hit very hard. They look all big and juicy and scary, but they hit like fucking feathers or like pillows. But you look at him, he steps, he lunges in, and he turns that hip. His elbow stays in front, or his hand stays in front of his hip. So he's not, because remember, if I throw my hip first, my hand is behind. So my hip is going to stop and my hand is going to continue. In turn, I'm going to lose power that way. If my hand and my hip are in sync and I turn, my power from my hip, my right hip bone, as it comes forward, is throwing with the same amount of power. Now, my hand is making contact with that machine, and my hip is still going forward. Compared to my hip being thrown, my hip stops, and my hand's following through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So it's like
it's just because of his high-level kickboxing. He can use his technique and his hips. Again, rewatch the video. Bang! His hip comes over, his hip stops as his hand lands. Instead of his hip being thrown, his hip stopping and his hand following through.
That's crazy. All right, see, that's so cool that you noticed those little details. And like,
watch his back foot. Watch his back foot.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to do it one more time because I want to show everybody. I hope you guys are finding this interesting. If you guys do train, it's, by the way, I messed my knee up today in sparring. I'll tell you about that later. Here, let's watch.
So you see him step off. He throws the right hand. That's okay. Look at that. Look at that. Look. Do it again.
I'm gonna do it one more time.
Just go. If you can, like, watch it real slow. Watch his back foot turnover. Watch his hip. His hand and his hip.
Let me see if I can go slow.
Like slow it down. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's watch this now.
Okay. So look at. Here's his hip. Turns his hip. Right there.
Oh, bang. Yeah. And he's kind of still driving it at the end.
Exactly, because his power's coming from his hip. And people watch that and they're like, oh, that doesn't look like a hard punch. Dude, your hips, why do you think baseball players can hit a ball 450 feet? It's not because their arms swinging, it's because their hip is turning that hip, turning their shoulders. And Alex Pereira is an expert. He's obviously a 100 times better technician than I am. But I'm fortunate enough to know enough that I can watch that video and explain why he generates so much power.
So cool. All right. Well, we can't wait to see what's going to go down with Alex Pereira in his next fight. I think the whole world is eagerly watching. And if they're not, they should be, because he is a true phenom. And yeah, it's incredible to see what he's doing in the sport. And good luck to your boy Jamahal Hill on the 303 McGregor card. Maybe it'll be the co-main, I imagine. And what an incredible. Oh, one other thing. Tehran said that I haven't heard this, but he said Tony Ferguson and Nick Diaz are rumored for UFC 303.
Really?
I didn't heard that. I think that'd be a very interesting fight. I imagine that'd be a retirement fight for Tony Ferguson, but that's a pretty interesting fight.
Well, when is his boxing match? Because I know his boxing match is coming up soon too.
Oh, Nick Diaz.
Nate. I'm thinking Nate.
Yeah.
Dude, that would be crazy, man. And I've seen some videos of Nick shadow boxing earlier in the week. Maybe it's true, man. Torn, thanks for the info. I'm gonna start looking for that, man. Appreciate that.
We're gonna yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. We're gonna check that out. All right, guys, that's it for our show today. We want to thank everybody once again for joining. Super interesting. Thank you, Justin, for explaining all that. That was very interesting for me. Definitely hope for everybody else as well. And we will see you guys on Friday. Also, we got some other cool videos that are gonna be dropping this week that I'm not gonna tell you about, but they're in the works. I'm excited about them. So anyways, thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for the support, and we will see you guys next time. Take it easy. All right.